Hello and welcome one and all. Today we'll cover Flask Framework in Python. Flask is easy to get started with, and it is very easy to get an app up and running. With as few as 5 lines of code, we can create a live Flask application. Also, we can immediately plug in any Python logic we already have to this framework. Let's go over the prerequisites. I am going to launch command prompt and check for Python. We need Python installed on our machine prior to running any code. If I write Python and hit enter in the command prompt, this tells me the installed version of Python. I can issue a Python command to confirm it. I'll print the hello world and hit enter. This will print this statement. I'll call the quit function to exit the Python. Let's install the virtual environment on our machine with pip install virtual env. We will build the web app in a virtual environment. This requirement is already satisfied, meaning this library is already installed on this PC. I will create this app in this directory on screen. I have created a new folder on E drive, and we will save our application code here. I'll copy this location and we can cd into this directory in command prompt. I will supply the E colon and hit enter, and this should take us to the directory. This is where we'll house our code, starting with virtual environment. We will issue python-m virtual env and call the environment Flask Web. We should see a new folder in our directory. I'll go ahead and activate this environment by going into the script folder and calling the activate script. Let's go ahead and activate this environment. I will write Flask Web /scripts /activate. Once we execute this, we should see our environment name in parentheses before the directory name. There we go. Our virtual environment is activated. In this environment, we will need to install the Flask framework. So we will issue a pip install Flask command and hit enter. This will install the Flask framework in this environment. Also, we can check where our Python executable is installed by issuing a where Python command. I'll be using PyCharm as the code editor, so I'll open the base directory in PyCharm. It is an awesome and free IDE. And in PyCharm, we can click on Open File and hit Open and navigate to the desired folder location. This folder is already open in PyCharm, so I'll go ahead and create a new Python file. I'll right-click on the folder and click New and select Python file. You can name your file anything, but it is recommended to name your file as app.py or wsgi.py. Then we don't need to set the Flask_app environment variable in command prompt. Flask framework automatically picks one of these files at the startup. Our environment is ready, and as I said, it is very easy to get started with Flask. First, we will import the Flask class. Next, we'll create an instance of this class. Flask constructor takes the name of current module as an argument. So we'll pass in __name __. Next, we'll create a route. The route function tells the application which route it should call. Under route, we can create a function which is associated with above route and return a string or a template. In this case, we'll return a string. Paragraph tag with hello world. We will set this file as an entry point of our program with if name equal main, then call app.run, and I'll set the debug to true to log errors to console. It should be equal after name. So I'll fix that. This is all the code required for a basic Flask application. I'll save the file and switch to command prompt where we have the virtual environment open. I'll issue a Flask run command and it should launch a test or development server By default, Flask runs on port 5000, and we can copy the URL shown here. I'll open the browser and open a new tab and paste in the URL we have copied from the command prompt. And voila, we have our first Flask web application up and running. We can go ahead and build and improve this application further. For example, let's say we want to pass in a parameter to our application. We can update our app file. I will add parameter with less than and greater than symbol in the route, and update the return text with a placeholder instead of the world, and call the format function and pass in the parameter to it. Also, don't forget to pass the parameter to our home function. Let's save our work, pick up the new changes. We need to stop the server first, so we'll do so by holding down the Control plus C key on the keyboard, and this will quit the server. We can issue the Flask run command again to restart the server. If we were to execute the previous URL, this will throw a not found error since we have updated the URL. Now it requires a parameter. So let's go ahead and pass in a parameter after /. I'll supply Python, and the application prints hello Python. It will print whatever we pass in into the URL. Let's do something fun at this point. Let's display an HTML template on launch. I will bring in a couple of modules from Flask, mainly render template and URL redirect. I have copied over a template in the base directory of the project. It is a basic HTML template with an input and a button, and it has a navigation bar and background color. In most web applications, we have a home or landing page with some sort of a style that makes it look presentable. Back in our app file, I'll go ahead and remove the parameter from the route and home. And now we will return a template in the return statement. So it will be render underscore template, and in parentheses in quotes, I'll supply the name of the HTML file, which is home.html. The template file goes into a folder called templates. By default, this is where the Flask framework looks for the HTML templates. And we have a static folder. This is where we're storing CSS files used by the template. So if you want to render your own HTML template, then make sure you put them inside the templates folder in the base directory. I will provide the template file name, save my work, and stop and start the server again to pick up new changes. This URL is no longer valid since we removed the parameter, so we can drop that from the URL and hit enter to view the new changes. There seems to be an error in our code. Let's check the console to see what went wrong. It seems we have an error on line 9 in our app file. I see I have made a mistake here. It should be render template, not return template. So I'll copy the render underscore template and update the return statement and save the file. One important note, remember to set the debug to true, otherwise you may not see the error log in the console window. Once again, I'll stop and restart the server, and hopefully we'll see our template this time around. I'll go ahead and refresh, and here we go. Our HTML template is showing up. Our application looks much better already. You can pick up an HTML landing page from the web and put it in your Flask project folder and brand your application to your liking. I'll stop this video here, but next time we will import the simple linear regression model into this web application. So we have a user interface to interact with the model. The idea is to give your model an interface that will allow users to easily access and use the machine learning models that we built in Python. I hope you find this session useful. If you like the content, be sure to like and subscribe. Post any questions that you may have. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.